Welcome back to another Data System Chiefs course video. So we have made it all the way through building out our ESXi hosts, deploying our vCenter server appliance, and now we are about to hop into Lab 4 and we're going to configure our data center and build out our cluster. So the objective of this is just to create a data center and then add all our ESXi hosts into the cluster. So our very first task, like always, is we are going to log into our vCenter Server Appliance, as you can see on my screen. What we're going to do is we're going to come into the host and cluster window right here, and then it's going to show your vCenter server right here. You're simply just going to right click on that, scroll down to new data center, and then in the name we're going to name this data center our student number mu data center. Press OK. Welcome to we finished task 1. It's very easy. The next task, we're just going to create our own little cluster inside of here. So you're just going to right click on your data center, scroll down to where it says new cluster. In the name, we're going to name this our student number mu vSAN cluster. You're going to look down here, you see the location of these other ones. We're going to set these up in later labs, so we're just going to leave these all blank. And then if you wanted to, you could check this box and manage all of your ESXi hosts using a single image. Go ahead and click Next, review all your settings, and go ahead and click Finish. All right. Now that we are done, we have our data center right here, and we have our vSAN cluster. We are going to start adding our ASM hosts. So task 3 is we're just going to add the 2 ASM hosts. We're going to add that LSM host later, but for now, let's just hit in there and get the ESXi01 and 02 set up. So come here to your cluster. You're going to right click on your cluster, and you're going to select this option right here. We're going to add our hosts. Because we don't have any existing hosts, we're not going to worry about that. But here in the new hosts, where it has IP address, we want to make sure our DNS is working. So we're going to use our student number, mu ESXi01. The username, it's going to be the default one, which is root. And then it's going to be that Marines password that we've been using so far. Now we want to add both ESXi01 and 2. So to add the second one at the same time, you can click Add Host right here. When you do that, it's going to actually allow this box to happen, come ungrayed. So you can check that because we know all of our ESXi hosts are the root and the Marines password. So all we have to do right here is the host name of our ESXi02. Once we're done there, we go ahead and click Next. It's going to give us that security alert. Remember when we were first logging into them, we got that. But this is just saying, hey, you want to add these into this cluster. Is this the actual SHA thumbprint? Are these correct? You can just select this box right here and press OK. You see that it's got both hosts right here. Go ahead and click Next and then Finish. As you saw in that warning, when they finally connect, they're actually going to show up in maintenance mode upon entering this cluster. Just give it a second. There you go. And then it's going to, as you can see, it just dropped them into maintenance mode. We're just going to leave them there like that for now because we're going to be doing other configuration, and we'll just leave them in maintenance mode. The next task is we're going to add that LSM host. So the LSM host is the one that is hosting our vCenter server appliance. And we're going to kind of repeat the steps that we did with the ESXi01 and 02, but we're actually going to add that host right here at the top inside of the data center. Please don't put it in your vSAN cluster. We're trying to separate this from the other 2 hosts. So here where it says your student number mu data center, we're going to right click We're going to add that host right there. You can do host name or you can do IP address. I'm going to do host name just to make sure that my DNS is set up correctly. Go ahead and click next. Same username and password. Click next. I'm gonna get that security alert. Hey, is this the thumbprint for your certificate for your ESXi host? Yes. Go ahead and click yes. Verify that this information is good. Click next. Because we've been working in evaluation, we're just going to leave this blank. We're not going to worry about lockdown mode because if we do that, we're going to start preventing ourselves from doing any additional configuration. So we're just going to leave that as disabled. VM location, we're going to leave that as default. Ready to complete. We're going to double check all of our information, make sure it's correct. Go ahead and click finish. There we go. And then if we hit that little arrow right there, we're going to see here's our vCenter Server Appliance. So congratulations, you've just added all of your hosts into your environment and you can start manipulating them if you want. We're going to move on to task 5, and this is where we're going to configure that vSAN cluster for EVC and NTP. These are very critical roles when building out your environment. This allows to make sure your time is correct, as well as you can do additional we'll just cut that out. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here on the left hand side. We're going to go into our student number mu vSAN cluster. We're going to click configure right here. We're going to come down here where it says configuration. We're going to go to quick start. And then we're going to go to the third option over here because it's so you'll see that cluster, there's no services. We're going to add our host. And then we're going to configure this cluster. So we're going to come down here and we're going to click configure. When it's asking to configure the distributed switches, we're going to wait and do that. That's in the next lab. Go ahead and click next. Here in the advanced option, we're going to leave this as normal or as default. We're going to enable EVC mode right here. And then we are going to select the Intel Broadwell generation. Click next, and we're going to finish. So, important thing to note right here. It's talking about your cluster. If you have this, it says that your host and VC time is different more than a minute. So we're going to have to go into our ESXi hosts and we're going to point those to our domain controller. And I will show you how to do that right now. If you come over to your ESXi host, right here in the center, and these tabs, we're going to go to configure. I'm going to scroll down here to where it says time configuration. And we're going to see that NTP is not set up. So we're going to enable that. We're going to set that up. Come here to edit. Going to enable right here. Our NTP server is our DC. So 172.18, your student number .21. We want to start that service. And we want to actually start and stop that service with the host. So press OK here. All right, once you see it's enabled, and now it's clicked running, do the same thing. Should automatically bring you up, but if not, if you click on your second host, come to configure, time configuration, do the same thing. Enable 172.18, student number 21 for DC. We're going to start the service and we're going to start and stop it with the host. And then for our third host, we're going to do the same thing. It's not going to show up in that cluster, but we want to make sure everybody's talking at the same time. All right, now we're going to come back here to our cluster, and now we're going to see all three of these are set up. That completes lab or task 5 in this lab. The sixth task is we're going to configure this cluster for DRS and high availability. So we're going to click back right here into our student number mu vSAN cluster. And then we're going to come back here. If you're not here at configure, go ahead and get here. And then we're going to be at the very top. We're looking for this vSphere DRS and vSphere availability. We're going to click the top option first. It's going to show us that this is currently turned off. So what we're going to do is go ahead and click edit right here. And all we're going to do is we're going to click on the little switch right here and turn it green. So when you're looking at the first tab right here, we're going to leave this all as default. It's going to automate placing virtual machines on hosts at power on. You can make the threshold so it's conservative or more aggressive. You're going to have more or less vMotion moving. You can enable predictive, so it might move VMs before things happen, and then you can also enable, we're going to leave this enabled. Come over here to additional options. What we're going to do here is right here in the VM distribution, we're going to enforce a more even distribution of virtual machines. So it's going to load balance per ESXi host what virtual machines that you have. We're not going to worry about anything else, but if you want to, you can click the other tabs and just kind of see the other available options that you have. Go ahead and press OK. You're going to see that that turns on, and then we're going to work on our vSphere availability. So same bet, we're right here at configure, vSphere availability, and we're going to want to turn HA on. So vSphere HA is turned off. We're going to come over here, click edit. We're going to click the little button to make it from gray to green. What we're going to do is on this first window right here, we're going to want to make sure that enable host monitoring is set. If it's set as gray, you want to click it and make sure it is green. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come down here to VM monitor. And in the selection, we're just going to want to monitor it only right now. We're going to leave the rest of these options default, but if you want to, you can take some time, read the little help, click the tabs. Don't make any changes, but leave them as they are. Go ahead and click OK. Now what should happen is when you come over here and you click the summary tab, please don't worry about this. But what we're looking for is vSphere DRS right here, as well as the HA and our cluster resources, the UVC mode. Make sure that all three of those are showing up. If you see down here, it is configuring for HA, just let it kind of do its thing. But this completes lab 4, managing the data center.